Greetings everyone. In today's developer comments and history video, I'll be documenting the comments made by Digital Extreme staff in regards to the topic of crossplay and cross-save in Warframe, in order to provide a timeline of comments and to inform players on 1. The history of the topic, and 2. The statements made by DE staff around the topic of its implementation. This video starts in 2018 and as of writing concludes in 2020. For those unaware, crossplay and cross-save are separate systems, but in some cases they are tied or launched together. Crossplay or cross-platform play allows players from various gaming platforms, be it PC, Xbox, PlayStation, or Nintendo, to play together. As an example, if crossplay is implemented, a PC user can play with an Xbox, PlayStation, or Nintendo Switch user, although restrictions may be placed on which platform can interact with each other, if relations and policies between platform holders differ. Crossplay in gaming has been around for a while, years in fact, though its integration has remained limited between single platform holders, aka console to PC, rather than console to console. While the 7th generation of consoles had featured crossplay for a few games, the request by users has come to the limelight during the 8th generation of consoles and the rise of the live service game model, with developers and the Big Three discussing and implementing crossplay further. Notably, Microsoft has a number of their games featuring crossplay between their Xbox, Steam, or Microsoft Store users, but once again that has remained limited to PC and console for a single holder. In recent years, during the later end of the 8th generation, we have witnessed and experienced the connection developers, PC, Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony have with crossplay and how each platform has handled the experience. The notable games that have crossplay are usually live service, with the standouts being Minecraft, Rocket League, and Fortnite, although through their evolution, certain platforms and their users could not play together due to the company policies and relations, which led to controversy at the time. The comments and discussion around these topics and policies have been covered in depth over the years through news outlets and YouTube. But to keep it short, the aforementioned games do in 2020 feature some form of crossplay between the Big Three platforms and PC. Originally, the games were restricted to their individual platform player bases. In 2016, Xbox and Steam users were allowed to play together. And then after an announcement in 2017, Nintendo joined the party. Lastly, in 2019, after years of reluctance for cross-console play, PlayStation joined the party. Each platform holder has said over the years that even though crossplay is now allowed, the decision to implement it into a game is down to the developers. Specifically, Microsoft has been open about crossplay intentions for a number of years, introducing a crossplay initiative as well as an invitation to other platform holders that would allow users on the other platform to play without the restriction of an Xbox Live subscription with Xbox players. Rocket League would be the first to feature and utilize this initiative, allowing users on Xbox and Steam to play together from 2016 onwards. Although the option to crossplay at the time was an option that needed to be enabled in the settings. As stated before, in 2017 it was announced that the Nintendo Switch version of Rocket League would allow cross-platform play between Xbox, Steam, and Switch. Alongside this announcement, it was shared that cross-console play would come to Minecraft. During this time, PlayStation shared that they had security and connectivity concerns as their reason for cross-console play not being engaged. However, discussions between Microsoft and Sony were still being made behind the scenes. In 2017, Fortnite featured a bug that was quickly fixed. This bug, notably, allowed Xbox and PlayStation users to play together. In March of 2018, it was announced that crossplay would be made available in Fortnite between Xbox, Nintendo Switch, mobile, and PC. But once again, PlayStation would not join this party. In regards to this launch, Fortnite used a single Epic Games account to engage and link this cross-save and play system. This account could then be linked to your console alias. This system had its own issue and controversy due to the fact that an Epic Games account linked to a PlayStation account restricted the overall Epic account's ability to crossplay on the other platforms. PlayStation users could crossplay with PC and mobile players, but if their PlayStation account was linked to an Epic account, that Epic account, even if they were on PC, could not play with Xbox or Nintendo. In wake of the Fortnite and Epic Games account issue, PlayStation announced that they would allow cross-platform play with the other platform holders for select third-party content, starting with Fortnite that very day. Fortnite would be the first game to have crossplay between mobile, PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and the Nintendo Switch. Rocket League would be the second game to have crossplay in January of 2019, and then later in the year, PlayStation's Jim Ryan in an interview announced that PlayStation's crossplay is open to any developer that can support it. With that said, we move from crossplay and its evolution, as far as I'm aware, to cross-progression, or otherwise known as cross-save. Cross-save is a shorter topic, as it allows users to have multi-platform progression, aka progression on console carries over to PC or other eligible platforms. At the moment in Warframe, each platform holds a different Warframe account, with consoles stating their platform before their usernames. Hypothetically, cross-save in Warframe would allow a user's account, regardless of the platform of origin, to operate across each existing platform while maintaining progress, items, and gear. To elaborate on this idea, your console account may be Mastery rank 25. You have a new PC and friends on PC, but sadly you'll have to start a fresh account. With cross-save, your progression is universal, and all you would need to do is sign into your Warframe account, and on PC you'll be Mastery rank 25 with your progression from your console save. So anything you do on PC would carry over to your console, and vice versa. Restrictions might apply to cross-save based on the accessible content in the game, platform decisions, requirements, legality, and various other factors that we don't know about. In order to provide a clearer view of how cross-save could work in Warframe, a game that introduced it recently was Destiny 2. Leading up to the launch of their 2019 expansion Shadowkeep, the developers of Destiny, that being Bungie, notified their player base that cross-progression would be occurring at the launch of their expansion, and that if players wanted to utilize the feature, they would have to manually select their main platform on Bungie.net. This process would then prioritize the save selected for the player to then use universally across console and PC platforms. To briefly explain how Bungie made cross-save work, an Xbox player could select their console account as their cross-progression save. This would then allow the Xbox user to play on PC or PlayStation with all of their required weapons, armor, and progression, whilst retaining their account light level. The pros of this system is that any progress made on another platform is universal, as your Destiny save is now one and is tied to your Bungie account. However, there are downsides. Players had to repurchase any expansions on the new platform that they played on in order to access the expansion's playable content. As an example, raids. This would be a requirement even if the user had already made the purchase on the platform of origin. If the player had also acquired premium currency, that being silver, on their PS4 account but selected their Xbox account for the cross-progression save, that premium currency would not carry over to the Xbox save, and instead will stay with the now locked PlayStation account. Luckily, cross-progression in Destiny is currently an option, and when activated does not merge each platform's accounts together. Instead, it disables any unselected accounts, its items, and notably, as I said before, the premium currency on those unselected accounts. Since this system is optional, players can in fact disable cross-progression after they enable it, and return to each platform having a separate game save and progression. However, Bungie has a policy that upon disabling cross-save, access to the feature would be locked for 90 days. So, I've covered what each system is, their history, and how they've worked in the past with other games. Now it's time to cover how Digital Extremes and Warframe have 1. Launched a system similar to cross-save in the past, and 2. The developer comments regarding cross-play over the years. Let's begin. Warframe, as we know, is constantly updating and releasing hotfixes. Over the years, the perceived plan is for Warframe to receive an update on PC first, have the player base experiment, engage, and experience the content, and then, after bug reports are filed by players, DE fixes those bugs, exploits, and balancing issues through various hotfixes after the fact. Now, after these hotfixes and updates have launched on PC, fixing the issues, DE finds the game in a stable enough state for them to compile it together and send it into the console holders, of course those being Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo, and this starts the certification process. Now, once the update or hotfix has been certified by the platform holders, which could take a week or more, the update gets a planned release date and drops for consoles. This has been the way since the release of Warframe on consoles. Now, over the years, the gap between a PC release and a console release of the same update has decreased, but most of the time there's always a hefty gap between the releases on PC and consoles. The only updates that will release on both PC and consoles at the same time in 2020 is that of Nightwave and its seasons, beginning with Series 1, The Wolf of Saturn 6 in 2019. The separated release structure of PC and consoles is done so that DE can be made aware of and fix significant issues plaguing the game with the latest updates. And doing so in one update for consoles removes the hassle of waiting for multiple certification processes to be cleared after a possible poor launch, where some of those certification processes might get bounced back to DE to then fix some more. Now, with that said, and as I'll cover it, the developers have shared via dev streams and interviews an interest in cross-save, even with the separate launch system they operate. However, before I reach these comments, it's time to go back into Warframe's past and highlight a process called account migrations that DE executed during the launch window of the game on a new platform. Sadly, this process was not used again with the launch of the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X in November of 2020, so if you're looking for that feature in 2020, sadly it has not returned. We begin in September of 2018. It was announced that Warframe would be launching on the Nintendo Switch, and in response to this announcement, the community manager, DE Rebecca, was asked by a player if there was new information on account transfers, aka migrations, crossplay, and cross-save. Rebecca responded that as for questions about crossplay, there were no comments at this time. Now, around the release window of Warframe on the Nintendo Switch, DE announced that account migrations would be available again for players to duplicate their progression from PC to Nintendo Switch, which in the past was a process they used with the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. This process required players to create a Warframe Nintendo Switch account once the game was downloaded. The user then had to open their PC account on a computer, and within the account management section on the Warframe website, they had to enter the account migration process that required the signing of a few forms. With the forms signed, the new Nintendo Switch account was linked, and would later be a copy of the individual's PC account. Now, where this process differs from the aforementioned Destiny 2 cross-save is that from that moment onward, the PC account and the Switch account would be separate entities, and no matter what, would not share any progression. It is also important to note in regards to the account migration system, before moving forward, that during the time this process was open, Digital Extremes announced that a number of items on PC would not be transferred to the Nintendo Switch account upon launch. This was due to, quote, issues regarding exploitative economy trading between migrated accounts, end quote, an issue that was brought up by the community at the time. The restricted items included any Riven mods the player had on PC, arcanes that dropped from the Eidolons, Acolyte mods, any legendary cores, and Primed Chamber. It's very important to note that this was when Primed Chamber was in limited supply and its trade price was over 100,000 platinum on PC. Now, to end this segment, Warframe on Nintendo Switch launched on the 20th of November, and the PC to Switch migration process ended on the 15th of January 2019, never to open again. At least so far. Now, as to why the aforementioned information is relevant to the topic of cross-save and play in Warframe, I believe it provides us with insight on how this industry has handled the topic, how Digital Extremes have handled similar systems and processes in the past, and what data and content they need to take into account when implementing cross-save and play into Warframe. So, with the preliminary information shared, we now reach the point of the video with Warframe developer comments, so you'll hear from the devs rather than me talking for another 20 minutes. During DevStream 122 on the 18th of January 2019, a question regarding the possibility of crossplay or cross-save coming to Warframe in the future was asked and answered. This would be the beginning of the storm.
Just because everyone's asking us this, are we ever planning on to have cross-platform systems in the future? Now that migration is closed from PC to Switch and migration isn't possible in any other way, what does it mean for us when we look at all these other games doing their cross-platform thing? We're not the same infrastructure as them, our code base is entirely different, but it's possible in other cases. What are we going to do, if anything, and what does that word mean to you working on Warframe?
We should have talked about this first.
Should have talked about this first?
No, this is springing on us. That's amazing.
As a player, I would love it. As a developer, it's one of the highest risk things I think that we can do.
Yep.
Because a lot of the games that are doing it, it's still very early days for this. A lot of those games came late to the platforms and had a different negotiating environments to establish the contracts. And on top of that, we are a game that is constantly changing. We change the game modes, we change the gameplay, we do huge swings constantly. So it is something that we're all interested in, and we do discuss it.
Our updates aren't just, hey, we added a map.
Our
So
updates-
you don't get that map if you don't have that on your
Yeah.
platform yet. So that's just not available to you. But
And I
everything
know
else
the-
is fine.
Yep.
Yeah. So
And I think, although we would like to do this, it is something I don't think that we can promise right now in January.
Of course not.
There's different degrees of this. One of the ones that we've been talking about is allowing you to share progress between the platforms, or share items or something like that. Those things are a lot more doable than getting everything in sync and doing complete crossplay.
Yep.
So maybe it's more of a gradual step for us than it is a sudden overnight switch.
Of course.
In May of 2019, during DevStream 128, the topic was brought up again.
Cross-play questions, cross-progression
Cross
questions.
progression, crossplay is not on the radar at the moment. Cross progression is on the radar at the moment, and I think it's a question of like what the scope of it is. It feels like some version of that is a certainty, but there's an asterisk hanging over that because we've only done a little bit of due diligence to figure out what that would be like for a game like Warframe, which is violently changing. Every year we're trying to one-up ourselves. Railjack is going to be a completely new aspect to Warframe.
Yep.
So these kind of things make it very awkward for us to do cross-progression, but we want to.
Yes.
Afterwards, in DevStream 131 in October of 2019, the developers updated players on its status.
And lastly, the other question I saw a lot was cross saves. Cross save is something that we've done a very large investigation on. I have some monstrous 20-page doc that's been handed to me by the programming staff to look over about how we can approach that. So when you're asking that, I appreciate your interest in that. We are absolutely looking at that. We're not currently investigating cross-play, but we are investigating cross-progress or cross-save, and I know it's kind of confusing because it's all these kind of fine-grained
You have to save
things.
in the play.
Yep. Don't have anything further to announce other than we are working on it, and we're kind of at that point where we've done the initial investigation, and we'll have to see where we go from there.
Yep.
During an impromptu live stream by DE Steve during the launch of the Rising Tide update in December of 2019 before Railjack, DE Steve briefly said the following.
We don't have cross-save coming with Empyrean. It is something that we're working on.
DevStream 136. It shared the first snippet of information regarding crossplay and save in January of 2020 and would at that point limit expectations.
And cross-save is another one I see come up in chat, and it's the blanket answer. We have a programmer that's very slowly, unfortunately, working on it, and it is something we know, we hear you, that you want it. We are a very rapidly changing game. We just put Empyrean onto Railjack. It changes dramatically the structure of the game and the structure of the accounts.
Would you call it? We turduckened the
We,
game?
we turducken the game,
Yes.
and so this is why cross-save for Warframe is going to be kind of a bit bigger of a challenge for us, but we want to try, and I don't want to make any promises, and I know technically our technical staff are very, internally conflicted about the return on investment for that, and would it be better to add new features than to work on cross-save, but we hear you, and we have been investigating it.
Now, while most are aware, it is at this point the current ongoing worldwide struggle was underway, and Digital Extremes moved from working from their studio to working from home. Thus began the series of dev streams from home and restricted working conditions for the DE staff. During DevStream from Home number 3 in May of 2020, the developers shared the following.
I wanted to mention, because I've been trying to follow chat, is we don't really have anything to say about cross-save. I definitely see people bringing that up with different emojis and question marks and asterisks and all caps and mixed case. Don't have anything great to talk about that right now, but definitely know that that is something that you would value in the game. And as I've said in the past, we've done some research on that. I don't think there's a heck of a lot of code written to support that currently, but it definitely is something that we want to attempt.
Our latest update in regards to crossplay or save coming to Warframe was by DE Steve during DevStream from Home number 8, alongside the announcement of Warframe coming to next-gen consoles with a specifically tailored next-gen update.
It, of course, brings up the question for, hey, crossplay and cross-save. I know we'd keep dodging this question. We don't have any, great, fabulous reveal or news about that at this time. But certainly your voices are heard, and those voices are growing louder with every minute. When I tweeted that video out, it was about 2%. Looks cool, and 98%. Okay, cool. So let's talk about cross-save, cross progression, and that sort of thing. So. Definitely, this is high on the list of wants.
Yes, it is.
From you all, and I want to acknowledge that without giving you any additional hope. You are heard.
The final note I can provide regarding the topic comes with the release of the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, as well as the launch of Warframe through backwards compatibility in November of 2020 on those platforms. Digital Extremes have announced that players are able to play with those on PS4 with a PS5, and vice versa. The same applies to Xbox One and Xbox Series X. To be clear regarding this announcement, PlayStation and Xbox users cannot play together and are restricted to their own platform player bases. PS4 with PS5, Xbox One with Xbox Series X. Now, at the time of writing this script, recording the audio, and editing, crossplay between PS4 and PS5 or Xbox One and Xbox Series X is eligible through the backwards compatible version of the game on the new hardware as stated beforehand. However, regarding the upcoming next-gen updated version of Warframe, it has been said by Digital Extremes that the ability to play with users on the old consoles will continue when the next-gen update launches. However, no comment has been made in regards to cross-platform play. Xbox to PC, PlayStation to Nintendo. There has been no further comment as of recording this video that I'm aware of. With the final comment shared and documented, it is time to conclude this video. I hope you were informed on the status of cross-save and play in Warframe, as well as how the industry and games in the same field operate the systems. If you did in fact find it informative, please share with your friends and other users to update them on the status of these systems and help out the channel. All the information I have talked about today, the sources are in the description of this video, and if the sources are too long for the description box, they will be in the pinned comment. So with that said, thank you for watching this episode of Developer Comments and Warframe History. If you want to see more, I have compiled a playlist with more videos of this nature covering numerous changes, events, and drama within Warframe. The playlist is available on your screen via the annotation and card at the top. Bye.